Good morning. All right, let's get going here. Good morning. Isn't it always, Andre? Yeah, I use the same thing every day. All right, so I just happen to be looking at the gold here, correcting. You know what? I just want to reiterate, because we talked about this a bit yesterday, that, bottoming patterns are a bit treacherous. I mean, we all want to get in near the low and be able to take advantage of the big move when it happens. But bottoms just are notorious for false starts and stops. And it's just the process of, uncertainty beginning and turning to certainty. And so when I say beginning, is that a bottoming process is the beginning of uncertainty. What preceded it was certainty, meaning the majorities were very certain it was going to go down, and they keep selling or shorting. And so there's little doubt at that time about it going up. And then, for whatever reason, it begins to bottom, a climactic move to the downside. And this was a little climactic, it was like a fast move after a trending move. And whether it comes into support. And then the uncertainty begins about that downtrend continuing in this case. And so then as it pops up and we all see the wide range bar and the breakout, it's like, wow, this is the start of something big. Well, maybe it is the start of something big. Good morning. But it's rarely the continuation of what started. So, just keep in mind that, if you're buying into something like this, start out with smaller share size and a big stop. And, sometimes it goes all the way back down. Let it wiggle around and do what it's going to do if that's part of your plan, that you think, okay, this is a long-term bottom. Well, if you play it too tight, you're going to get wiggled out. And sometimes, look, you're going to have a profit and it's going to evaporate. It's just part of the process. And it's just know what you're dealing with in such a situation. So you might say, oh, I stopped out here. Okay, fine. And you wait to reload. Or, you've got a smaller position that you bought here with a stop down here, and you're just waiting for something more to materialize to add to it and raise the stop. So I don't know whether this is going to go all the way down here or whether, tomorrow or Monday it reverses right back up again. Wouldn't surprise me, because that's, the personality of a bottoming pattern. So just, pointing that out. So in other words, another thing is we talked about different patterns, and, initially they, not initially, they all look the same in the moment, meaning the section of the pattern, right? So let's say that section of the pattern. We looked at WIN yesterday and the day before, WYNN, and it was like there was a hook type of pattern. And I said, it's a great pattern, that little piece of the pattern, but in a downtrend, it rarely produces something big to the upside as it does when it's in an uptrend. And it's the same thing. This little piece of this pattern coming out of a bottom rarely produces something huge initially, even though it looks like the start of something there. So that's the lesson for today. Let's see what the rest of the markets are doing here. Yesterday was a go nowhere day, inside day, and a lot of indecision. And you can see here on the spiders, we have, up into that resistance, an obvious place. You're welcome. Obvious place of resistance and the wide range bar up and an inside day. And now we'll look at the futures prices are trading below that. And we could look at this 24-hour chart. It's just a little titch below that there. And this pattern, I think some things we're going to have to look at as short-term shorts, especially for a day trade, and oil is under pressure, and we'll take a look at it. But I think some of those oil stocks in the ETFs, which turned down yesterday, and I was hesitant to put on a short for some of them because, just where the market's at. But I think today they're going to probably follow through to the downside and catch up with what oil is doing. Anyway, so this is trading under here. It's breaking a prior day's low, and that's our initial, observation or analysis from one day to the next. Did it break the prior day's low, or did it break the prior day's high? Is it an uptrend? Is it a downtrend? What is the 60-minute trend? And now we've got a little top on the 60, and we've broken that. And it looks like it should be able to go lower. Now, of course, the question always is, well, lower to where? Well, that's harder to say, but so this little shelf of support right here could hold, and that would mean that buyers are aggressive and there's strong demand. If it's weaker, obviously it'll come down into this unfilled gap, and that would be a bit more bearish, because when we have a gap up, whether it's from a base or in this case a continuation pattern, stocks or markets with the strongest demand do not fill the gap, right? Not initially. And we see that here. Right? It didn't come up into that close. It touched the prior day's range, but it didn't fill the gap completely. And in this case here, it didn't fill the gap completely. So if this is going to go higher and buck this trend, and it has broken the back of the downtrend here by overcoming that swing high, if it comes down here and fills the gap, that's going to be a sign of weakness. Whereas if it stays in the upper range of this wide range green bar here, well, that would be more bullish. And then we'd see some type of choppy consolidation in the top of the range there. And then we'd say it would push higher. So for example, if at the end of the day today, well, let's look at the futures. If at the end of the day today, this was to turn into a green bottoming tail bar, that would be a bullish sign. Now, looking at this chart here, it really should come down lower. And when I say that should, I'm just basing that on historical normal patterns. And so what I'd like to see is maybe on Monday, it continued down, and maybe Monday or Tuesday, maybe somewhere in this area, we get a bottoming tail bar, and that would suggest going long and continuing higher. So right now, based on the strength of this move, I wouldn't short this as a swing trade because of the strength, but we could look at, intraday shorts. As you can see where it's at right now, and this is a good example of looking inside of a bar, like an X-ray. So this is a wide range bar. We don't see any support, but there's a little tiny shelf right there. So we'll see whether it can hold this area. And if it can, excuse the red lines, it used to be resistance. This is about the area where these futures would hold, somewhere in here, as a bullish retracement. So we'll see how that plays out. Qs, right, pretty much the same thing. They didn't quite get up to that swing high up there, so they're showing relative weakness. And this would, I'm just thinking as I'm looking at this could probably would be the one to go to if you wanted to trade spiders or Qs, if we were to get the continuation pattern here, as I explained, inside day, maybe another down day, and a bottoming tail bar. And bottoming tail bars are one of my favorite when they set up that way, meaning they take out a prior day's low or 2 days lows, and you get a bottoming tail bar, but in the context of what preceded it being a bullish pattern. So we'll see how that plays out. Why not diamonds? Diamonds, sure. I haven't gotten to that yet, but I'm not opposed to that. They're actually the strongest. But, one of the things that we've talked about here is, and why I said Qs first, it's a natural thought to go to the stronger, the one showing relative strength. And that, yes, agreed. But typically that's going to be the one that's closer to resistance as well. So that, part of the thinking a week or so ago as to the Russell that led the way down and was near support. So that one was more likely to at least initially get a pop off of the low. And then, the Dow was the one that kind of had the bigger move. And, day before yesterday, it had this big move. So, going back to the Qs here, if we're going close to the highs, and I know this is resistance there, this one potentially could have a bigger move than the diamonds, but why not do them both if you can, and just, play them out. Transports, right up at the 200 here, and actually just hanging out. They typically don't do much pre-market unless something really significant's happening. So nothing going on there. And there's the Russell, and there was the nice move off of the low. They're down here a little bit pre-market, wiggling around, and same message. I think they probably pull back, and I would be surprised to see them pull back like in a vicious, not a vicious, but a significant way. I don't think there'd be a power downtrend today, just based on what preceded it here. And like yesterday, I think that while there'll be some selling along the way, I think bearish traders have to be a little careful in light of this move up. Buyers, institutions are going to keep coming for this because they're deathly afraid of being left behind, and they'll risk, getting in and, getting whipsawed rather than get left behind, because it looks worse to not produce gains and not being in when the market is going up. We got there's the YM chopping around there. So we got the beginnings of a pullback type of a pattern or consolidation at the top. And Qs pulling back to the 200 and the support there. Bonds are up a little bit today, but downtrend, just maybe making a base or maybe a little stall there before continuing lower. Oil through $60. And so it's getting a little extended there, and it looks like got to go down to 58. And I mean, it's just surprising, the prior strength. And now it's starting to, it's going vertical down into this area there. So we'll see what happens. And gold we already looked at. And so here we've got I hate these sell setups, to tell you the truth. I mean, they do work, but what I hate about them is where they're so far away from, the resistance area, necessarily the gap. There was this here, but this pattern is just kind of historically notorious for setting up, triggering and then doing this or this and then back down again. In any event, I think with oil being down as much as it has, these stocks probably continue to be under pressure. So they should be fine for shorts, whether swings or day trades. And is there anything else I wanted to review here? I don't think so. I'm just looking at whatever's moving here. It's kind of there's more. The yellow ones in red are obviously they're down, and the green ones, if they're all green on this side, they're up. So there's a lot more red, right, than what's ever up. And just looking at anything of significance here, probably so. XOP's down again. That's gapping down, so I have to be careful about shorts. Apple going down. So at least day trades, probably the short side is going to be better. Square reported earnings and bearish gap down there. It's on some support. I have to be careful with that. And we'll see how it shapes up. Is it all yours, Dan? Oh, before we do that, just to look at those internals before you go. And we can see, breadth is up at an area where the strength of it to get up there, we looked at it yesterday, was a big positive that it got that far, but it needs to correct a bit, and sentiment is neutral here. So We don't have them in alignment. So we wouldn't expect something huge to the downside, but some correction, and that's what we're getting. All right. I did, Pat. I looked at Russell, at the Russell. I mean, I can throw it back up there for a sec. Yeah, it's up near the prior high. Everything is near some resistance area, whether it's the 200, whether it's the prior swing high here or something. So, and everything pretty much yesterday was a go nowhere kind of day of chopping around. And so, and there's gonna go nowhere days, these inside days, especially like this is, you know, when you always, we look at the hourly chart to see if it's in an uptrend and then it starts to go sideways. And as we start looking for shorts, is where it starts to roll over. We look at the hourly trend break trend and support, even though the daily is still moving up. All righty, Dan.
All right. Good morning, everyone. And I sent out a text alert. Well, I guess I better give them to you all, too. Yeah, I adjusted a few stops on things. Opens here. Yeah, EOG stopped us out yesterday. I was in it and I took my stop. Oracle, we have 1/3 lot left. I moved the stop under 50. Rost, actually doing very well. And it's up. We have a covered call in the advisory letter and a put spread where it's a dime midpoint now. So I said, let's bid a nickel to get out. SCS, I adjusted the stop under 17 bucks plus over the week's high. You can add to it. That's a beautiful daily and weekly. Fizzler, we tightened stop. It's actually up today. But we're like 2/3 the maximum gain, so we aren't going to turn that into a loser. Visa put spread down pre-market, but the daily looks fine. Adobe here down pre-market, put spread on that. CRM put spread. This, we have a covered call in this, and I can't tell if that gap is real. I looked on my chart and I'll be keeping an eye on it. That would be a very ugly gap if it's gapping way the heck down here, but the prints don't suggest that. Bunch of gap plays, NIHD. Your beautiful breakout was right there. We'll keep an eye on it. SWKS, ugly gap. I got to go to my monthly to see where 77 is. So that's a big, ugly gap. Wow, ePay, another big, ugly gap. But look at this run. Wow, look at that weekly breakout at 42 bucks. Now it's $53. Way the heck down here. I don't know what to do with that. CTL 1850, way the heck down here. There's a lot of ugly gaps here. ATVI 55, another look. I gotta go to, when you gotta go to your monthly to see where it's trading because it's off your weekly scale. That's a big gap. This was bearish. All right, see you, Thomas. Have a great weekend. Finzer is not earnings. I checked it. So I didn't check the news, but that's an excessive gap to the upside. TTD had a breakout failure yesterday, 109. Gap into this prior low. Nothing to do now. ST Stone. 2830 had a nice gap up coming in pre-market. Don't like the daily at all. And I don't know what he does. That's a recent IPO, obviously. NBEV 370. It's a bearish gap. Yeah, these marijuana stocks continue to be high risk. It's a merger, I think. Omer gapping under this base. There, I like that one. I'm going to put that in a thumbnail. For a day trade short, if it gives us an intraday setup, it's kind of neutral here, pre-market, bobbing around. Oracle, that's just the one we're in. Ross, we're in. I typed them there earlier. STWD, where are you? 21, it's nothing to do. It's a range-bound mess. PBPB, 990, it's a bearish gap. That's ugly. Look at that. That could be a core short right here. IPO, topping tails, downtrend. Look at this multi-year trading range. And now it's gapping under it. That's ugly. I'll watch that. Yelp, look at these things getting slammed today. Look, I can't even see it on my weekly chart. Here's 30. Wow, this is excessive gap day. 1361, another one off the charts. New lows, new IPO lows, Redfin. That's ugly. Things cut in half. Wow. Hertz, 19 bucks. The big gap to resistance. Nothing to do there for now. Disney, it's nothing to do. CTL, 1860. Another bearish gap way the heck down here. We looked at that one already. Dropbox, 27. Hey, I'll put that in a window. That might be interesting. Its earnings, so maybe for a put spread. Really, Craig? Wow. Wow, that's amazing. ATVI, 55 bucks. There you go again, another one off the charts. I don't remember a day where I've had so many of these gapping off the charts on the daily and weekly. AMC, it's a bearish gap here. Could set up for a day trade short. Let's see what it does. It's bearish pre-market. So that could go to the 200. That might be a nice day trade short. Alpha Lima, there's no volume, so I can't tell. AAOI, somebody in the room brought this up yesterday. So a bearish gap negated, engulfing, pick up in volume. And so I just left it on my list. These are all leftovers now. This one looks great. If it's opening flat in a weak market, I like this one better than the prior one because you got your breakdown failure here and this bullish consolidation at the 20. Look at that volume, price void. Now there's always resistance, but it's, as we say, you got to read the whole pattern together. And that's very deep into that. So I call this a price void, at least to this area, this congestion, and then the weekly, a little bit more room. I'll put this in a minder over here. This was a bullish gap from yesterday that Sanjay brought to our attention. Had a nice run as a day trade. I hope you got off the bus. Nice, I can't tell what it's doing. And there's no pattern there. I'm gonna get rid of him. Virtue, I was waiting for a pullback on the weekly breakout.